Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I can hear you. You can hear me. Good business. Karen, thank you so much for it. You turned up a bit early. I'm always in this nervous state. I'm in a nervous state all the time, apparently, but I'm always in this nervous state with the tutorial. Like I've got all my gadgets all set up and got everything going, and I'm worried about the big entrance. And then I'm sitting there. Everything's kind of connected, I think. Everything's working. And then I realize there's no one in the tutorial. And it kind of is counting down and counting down. I'm thinking, I am in the right place, aren't I? And every week I have this. And thank God for people who have no concept of time and turn up early, or maybe they're sick of looking after the bull who's being a prawn again. And they turn up for the tutorial a little bit early. I don't think, thank God. At least Karen's here. At least someone's here. And of course you arrive and there's no one else but me there. And you're probably thinking, oh my God, is it just me? I hope someone else turns up. I can't just log out, can I? If it's only me. And it's like, anyway, it's good to see you. And we've got Rach and China and Cliff and Rockhampton and Bundaberg. Give us anyone in Rockhampton and Bundaberg? Oh, we've got some more people joining us. That's lovely. Anthony, Amelia. I don't think we've got anyone in Rockhampton, Bundaberg. So let us...
So just to interrupt, was there any material on the Moodle site? Did I miss an update? Because I logged on yesterday to do it and it said nothing. There was nothing available for this week.
Oh, we shall get to that. Because I'm about... There should be something on Moodle, but I'm about to put Moodle up in a couple of minutes. And we shall see. When I put it up, and we'll see if there's a blank page.
Oh, no, now it's all there. Never mind, it's all there.
Oh, no, Cliff, don't do that sort of, oh, God, what an idiot. Or maybe it was what an idiot is he, but carefully disguised. Moodle is strange. So it might be that there's a problem with Moodle. Anyone else? No, I won't. It might be with Moodle, so don't blame yourself on that one. Blame the system. That's what we learn on this unit. Blame the system. Okay? So I'll just go through what we have today. So week 7, and we have, this week is all about social influence. And what we're doing, we're setting up the groundwork for something that's going to happen in week 9, where we're looking at social power, systems of authority, which is a particular type of social power. So we're getting into that. We're laying the groundwork for that week, this week, by looking at the Milgram studies on obedience, which is really all about authority, as well as social influence. And it's also starting to reveal, so if this traumatizes you, but starting to reveal a couple of things. See that? There's a social power one going around. See the little symbol? Social power, it's just gone by. There's the self and other, object, subject, social support. We're going to get to that. And here we come. See that? The Milgram shock machine. You see that? It's all making sense now, isn't it? So it's those two things in our unit logo, which is that thing up there, which if you can't see it, go to Specsavers. What's wrong with you? So we're getting to that bit. That's what we're mapping out now on this unit. Just want to make a few little apologies because the videos for this week, and don't worry if you're in the same situation as Cliff and you haven't seen the things ready for this week, don't worry. The tutorial we're going to do today won't rely on you having access to the videos. Now, I've put 3 videos up. I'm having to redo all of my videos this year. And I couldn't get them done till Saturday. They got up on my YouTube channel on Saturday, and I didn't get to Moodle till Sunday. So apologies for that. The good news is they are mercifully short. Let's just show you that. Oh, sorry, that's my OBS window. Okay. So under week 7, that's where I went wrong. Under week 7. So you've got the 3 videos there. Now, just to help you with this, I'm not sure if it's going to help you. It's intended to help you. Under the unit introduction, I put a little news announcement about this. I'll just put this on this video. And for you here today, I've put a link up. I don't think the link was there previously, just above this unnecessary school zone sign, which is a metaphor for something. I've put scheduled videos. And if you click that, you'll get to a whole list of all the videos, and it'll give you the duration. So you can see the ones that have gone previously. So if you want to catch up with things, you can see how long they take. And the ones in bold are the ones that I'm at the moment in the process of making. And I've got my estimated times here as well. So it'll give you an idea of how to plan things ahead for viewing things and what's coming. So that's there for you, if that helps at all. For the purpose of the video, you won't be able to see people's video feeds here, but for the video, for people who missed it, everyone at the moment are applauding. I've got them on mute, but they're applauding and waving and looking really happy that I did that. And you can stop applauding now because I've had to put you on mute because the cheering and the applause is just, it's going to break the system. All right, calm down. The applause is fading away. Okay, I can take you off mute. There you go. Don't say anything. Don't complain about that. Okay. Okay, so that's that bit. The other bit I have to tell you about, the Jordan Peterson stuff. So the Jordan Peterson stuff is not there at the moment. Last year's video is there. I mean, you can look at that on YouTube, but it's about an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm suffering from a heat wave in Townsville, and I'm plodding along critiquing Jordan Peterson's work. I'm redoing those. You can have a look at the one on YouTube, but it is a long, tiresome video. I've shortened them, so there should be two, I think about 10-minute videos. I think we've got them to about 10 minutes. What have I done? 15 to 20. There's a lot to talk about, but they're a lot shorter than they were previously. Okay. So, the other thing to say, in the Milgram video, so we'll get into the agenda, I promise you. In the Milgram video, what I do is at one point in video number 2, or the third video, part 2 for Milgram and ethics, this is all going to pop. I pick on our learning community site, our forum, our Q&A forum. Has anyone seen the videos? Has anyone seen this where I pick on you? Can I make a comment? You have, Karen. So when I go to, remember that bit where I go, maybe you blanked it all out. I go, talk about moralization of technology. Have you had a look at the sort of things that you post on our Q&A site? Ever wondered about how you're dealing with morality there in terms of what's good and bad? Because I was going on about this, wagging my finger at the class, and there, sitting right up the top, thanks to Cheryl. Is Cheryl here? You troublemaker, Cheryl. It's not just Cheryl. There's this absolutely brilliant thread. Rachel, you're the one, you were kicking this off, weren't you? You came in. When did you come in? On Thursday? I was just getting the script ready and everything. So there's this brilliant post, which is actually talking about moral issues, about things being good and bad. That's quite a rare thing to be happening in a student forum. Mostly, they're very technical, good and bad questions. How many references should I put in? Is it a good essay with loads of references or a bad one? Anyway, so thanks to Cheryl and Rachel and colleagues, you've kick-started a fantastic discussion there. Go have a look at that discussion. It's a brilliant discussion, but you've made me look an idiot. So I will remember that when it comes to assessment 2 and 3. Fair enough? Okay. All right, job done. So, the other thing, assessment 1. Assessment 1, the grades and feedback have been released, except if you handed in after deadline. I'm marking all the ones that came in after deadline. I am getting to those as soon as I can, but there's a delay with those ones, but they'll be done by the end of the week. As long as you've submitted sometime before the end of this week, you'll get your grades and marks back. Now, if you're disappointed with your grade, don't panic, because if you look at the weightings of the assessments, assessment 1 is weighted at 20%. So it's designed for you to not do brilliantly without having a bad impact on your unit grade. So it's very low. It's as low a weighting as we could get away with without you feeling as though you're wasting your time on it. So it's 20%. So if you didn't do as well as you wanted to, it's not going to have a big impact on the unit grade. Assessment 2 is weighted at 30%. Assessment 3 is weighted at 50%. So it builds up. So by the time you get to assessment 3, we're hoping that you've made most of your mistakes by then, so you can kind of shine. So if that makes sense. If you did really well on assessment 1, just try and overlook what I've just said. Maybe that's a lesson there to don't overachieve early on. All right, that's your lesson there. All right, don't shine from day one. You know, that's anyway. Brilliant effort if you did really well. Proud of you, but yeah, it's only weighted at 20%, so you might have peaked too soon. Okay, so are you ready for the agenda? Oh, chat. I bet chat's been kicking off, hasn't it? I bet in chat you've been going, Paul, your microphone's not working. What have we got in chat? Oh, that's good. It's a good sign. China. Hello, China. Cameron went, hi, China. How lovely. Look at this. Social psychology. Look at the social stuff going on here. Yeah, that's proper social stuff going on. Who says that psychology students don't socialize with each other, apart from the Good University Guide and the student satisfaction surveys that run nationally, which say we're the worst. We're the worst. Do you know that? We're the worst. They put us down as the discipline. Psychology is the discipline, which is the worst in terms of students talking to each other. Suck on that, eh? Suck on that, Good University Guide. Look at that social interaction happening right there. There you go. Okay, so everything's working. And our agenda. So rules, same rules as usual. Cameras on if you can. Talk, listen. My job is listen, stop talking after this bit if I can. Just keep us to time. Our agenda, I've posted it up by here, and I'm going to post it in chat. So the rules are coming up in chat. Here we go. So rules in chat, and I've got the basic agenda in chat, but don't worry too much about what's on my screen just now and what's in chat just now. Apart from in chat, you'll have a link. So the go-to link. So what's going to happen, let me just take you to that link, and then I'll explain what's going to go on just now. Let me disappear. I'm in the way. So if you go to that link, you'll be back on our lovely Google slide site. But don't worry, this one's not about you having to search for images and create a poster. We're going to pull back a little bit from that stuff. And it's just what I want you to do is just use the Google slide site. If you haven't been here before and used this, it's just a collaborative space. You'll be in a group with someone who has used it, so you'll get the hang of it. Basically, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to have breakout rooms again, and there's two main things I want you to get to. The first is, what was the political and cultural context of the Milgram experiment? That one links to assessment 2, the interrogate learning verb. So when you go to the marking rubric for assessment 2, the diary, reflexive diary, you'll see one of the criteria is called interrogate, which is what is the social cultural context of that knowledge. So this is going to help you with the diary, that bit of the discussion. The second thing I want you to get to is whose vested interests have been served by how those experiments have been cited, how they've been talked about. That's going to give you material for your diary for analyze, which is that other part of the rubric for the reflexive diary, but also we'll start laying you some groundwork for the recognize learning verb, which appears in the marking criteria for assessment 3. You'll see that in the assessment 3 rubric. So we're just starting to lay some groundwork for you there. So the means to get to that point is on slide 3. Is this making sense to people? I'm wittering away. I forget, lecturers are trained just to talk for an hour, irrespective of the pain on people's faces. Are people okay? Is it all making sense? I can't get a read on anyone. You're poker playing me. Can you hear me? Everyone, Natalie's giving it away. She's smart. Are you guys playing tricks on me again? Can you hear
Just
me?
ferociously typing.
You're ferociously typing. Is that? Oh, the letter of complaint. The last one didn't get through, you know. The office was closed. Okay, all right. So I'm presuming you're keeping up with this. So, okay. So on slide 3, there's the way I want you to get into this. So there's 4 questions. What I want you to do is share as a group your stories about how you were first introduced to the Milgram studies. If you've never heard of the Milgram studies, then you introduced them on this unit, and that's fine. But a lot of people find out about the Milgram studies in various ways. If you've studied psychology before, you'll be probably introduced that way. But if you haven't, you might have heard of them, any of these studies anyway, and they made a big Hollywood film on it, about them. So you might have found out about these studies that way. So first of all, when did you hear about it? You know, how early in your interest in psychology did you come across it? If you come across it in psychology, where? Was it part of psychology? Part of a different course? Somewhere else? What? What was it used as an example to explain? How was it talked about? And why? Why do you think you were introduced to it in that particular way? That makes sense? No one's giving me any non-verbals at all. Everybody's gone. Okay, Rachel. You've got headphones on, Rachel, so you might just be listening to some banging music, banging tunes. I'm just going to assume that you're agreeing. Okay, that you understand. It's fine. So go to your slide. We'll have 2 groups, I think. We've got enough for 2 groups. So group 1, go to group 1 slide. Group 2 to group 2 slide. And fill in your answers. And once you've filled in your answers, then get back to those big questions. That makes sense? You guys are giving nothing away.
Yep, all ready.
Cliff, I knew I could rely on you. See, we've got a verbal student here.
Yeah.
There we go. The rest have been categorized as catatonic, DSM-3, 5, and 4, probably. Go on, Cliff.
I reckon if you started adding out bonus points to the final exam on your interaction during your Zoom chats, everybody's mic and camera would be on.
Yeah, well, I'm not allowed to say it, Cliff. I'm not allowed to do that. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? We'll see you right. We'll see you right. I'll remember this moment. I'll remember this moment. You'll do all right. Okay, so we're good to go. I'm going to put people into 2 breakout rooms. Oh, chat, kicking off chat. You've been answering me. Have you been answering me, chat? No, that's me. Anoush. Yes, thanks. I'm sorry, Anoush. You did. You and Cliff, you're protected. You've come under my protection, if you know what I mean. Everyone else, life's harsh, isn't it? I mean, who knows what might happen, you know? I can't protect you. All I'm saying, who knows? You know, it's a dangerous old world out there, isn't it, when it comes to grading? You know, a few jars and you trying to put a grade down. How an HD can quite easily become a P with a slip of the pen, can't it, you know? Anyway, you know what I mean? Oh, God, I'm recording this. Oh, God, I go to disciplinary hearing again. Okay, so we'll go into our groups. Relaxing music. Do you want relaxing music?
Oh, just ready to get going.
Yeah. Okay. Natalie's traumatized. She's only here because she can't escape. She's literally here 24 hours every day. Natalie doesn't know how to log out of Zoom. So she needs the relaxing music, don't you, Natalie? I will get round to posting you the instructions about how to log out of Zoom, but meantime.
I'm stuck in this headspace.
You are, aren't you? You are. You're our case study, I tell you. We're all making notes. Right, breakout room. Can you hear the music?
Yep.
You can. There you go. You're learning fast, Cliff. Right. There we go. Assign. This is where I unnecessarily verbalize what I'm doing because I'm an old man. Assign manually, create 2 rooms. I just want to do a final check on we've got Townsville, Rockhampton, Bundaberg. Anyone in those rooms? No. Okay. Here we go. faded the music out, all right, because only you can hear me right now. The others, I've muted my, it's complicated. Anyway, I've muted, don't worry, I am doing this working, I'm working whilst I'm doing this. I just wanted to let you know that I've seen the quality of your work, all right? And there's some other people on this unit who are kind of at your level, super brains, I've spotted them, the talented people. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put you in that group with those others. The other group, numpties, I'm telling you, I don't know how they got here. Equal opportunities, some diversity program, I don't know. But, they're here, we make the most of it. Sorry, everyone, did my mic fade out there? Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Right, we are ready. Your room is open and we're going to spend 25 minutes on this task and then we'll come back together in a big group and see what we've found. Thanks, everyone.
There's something in the pipelines for a revisit to that study.
I think so. It was a fascinating discussion. I want to bring both of your groups back together because, group one, you were getting into the grips of the study and what it meant and what you thought about it all. Group one, I want to delay bringing you in because group two will set us off.
Group two did the work.
Group two did the work, didn't they? They're the grafters.
So now we know which is the dumbass session and which one was the not dumbass students, eh?
Exactly. Exactly. But we can't say it out loud. You'll learn that. You'll learn that in life. I've learned that. You can't. But group two has set some good groundwork for us because they've answered some of these questions. So we'll go through it. If you can see these slides, I'll just read them out. Maybe you don't need me to. You've all got them in front of you probably. So the when, between now and about 3 years ago. The where, high school, university. The what, psychology research and research units, psychology research units in relation to ethics, but also psychology in relation to social psychology and discussing the topic of motivation. And then the why, ethics, all about that use of deception, involvement from the experimenter, the social stuff about authority influence over behavior, and subliminal things about authority, about lab coats and uniforms. So there's some interesting stuff there in relation to how it's presented. And what I'd like to do is just open up some discussion on those two big questions. About the first one is what was the political and cultural context of the Milgram experiment? The second one, whose vested interests have been served by how the experiments are cited? Let's start off with that second one because group one has set us up to answer that because the Milgram studies have been presented to people in a particular type of way, two ways, as far as I can tell. Through social psychology as kind of content, but then through research as bad research. So whose interests are served by Milgram studies being presented to us in that way?
Those who want to maintain authority and want to be dismissive of the findings.
Ah. Yes, Renee. And why would they want to be?
Social control or a power of social influence is maintained if you can ignore his findings.
Oh, very interesting.
Manipulation of the population.
Ah. What do other people think?
It did show it didn't take much push to get people to do something they might normally object to as well. And it highlighted that with the right tone and lead up, even the most conservative person has to be pushed quite hard to stand up for their own free will or their own beliefs. But for the majority of the part, most people just agreed to do the vile thing, which is what they thought they were doing, and they just did it because they were told. And they didn't know that going in. They just knew it was an experiment. So it did highlight how easily controllable individuals were, and you can just extrapolate that out onto the community and society. And given the 30 or 40 years we've had since then, we can highlight, governments and organisation bodies can really refine those messages going out and how to keep the majority of the constituents in line with what they need them to do. It was very easy. Like, I've had walnuts crack harder than that.
It was very easy. When we get to the social relations week 9, we'll be looking at how easy it is for people like me to get people like you to do things under the authority structures we have at university. So that'll be interesting.
We should do an fMRI on our brains when you tell us to do stuff that we might not necessarily want to do, and the people who just choose to do it because they want to do it. That'd be a good study.
We've already got you hooked up. It's tech we don't reveal.
It's almost cultish, though. Like, if you have a look at how quickly people obeyed, you change the narrative and you change the education and the backstory of the people doing the study. It's very It's very easy to see how cults start. Given the right wording and the right touch points continuously, people will just do, and the right environment, people will just do what they believe is right and what they're told.
What do other people think? We've got Rach in chat who's just added something there. What do other people think?
I guess for me, I explained a little bit of history. I was always wondering how people can be as cruel. Obviously, going back to Auschwitz and Jewish and Polish people, I could never understand how it's possible for a human being to treat other human beings that way. And after reading a few books and actually go through Auschwitz in Krakow myself, when it actually look at an amount of stuff are there, and like how many years after, and you still can literally feel it while you're going through it. And I could never understand, and I guess that experiment shows a little bit how not all German were bad, but they were just the leader just make them believe that that's the right thing to do. And I don't know, from being scared of being shot themselves or not, they all believe that that's the way they have to be. Like, they just walk down the street and shoot them and put them in the gas. And yeah, I think that was a really good comparison how far human being can go without thinking, no, I'm not gonna shoot this mother and kids and put thousands of people in the gas and just sit there and laugh with my mate, where these people are just literally being burned live. I think that shows the extreme of how our brain can be easily manipulated of doing something that we don't agree, but we're still doing because that's what we're supposed to do.
Excellent points, Amelia.
Paul, do you remember the monster?
Oh, you went on mute.
Sorry. Do you remember the name of the lady who did the Monster in the Cage article about she turned up to the trial of a German commander and looked at him and realized he was just a person. And then she did 10 years of study on the German mindset and sort of came out and said, they're just people who were in a horrible social environment just doing what everybody else did.
And I think that
The Nobel Peace Prize for it.
brings it back to the first question around what was to gain politically and the timing of it. I mean, you look at the year that it was conducted, and you've got all things spiking around Vietnam, and there was you've got particularly the US investment in that, and bringing rise to that, and making people question involvement and those sorts of things on a wider statement.
Going into psychology, because talking about the war in Auschwitz and Jewish and all that, like we're obviously talking about how we can control other people with doing what we want them to do, or political can do what they want them to do. But because obviously it was mentioned that the professors and other people who say that we should be more careful with how we impact other people's behavior. Was that something to do with relating into the main psychology stream when, people don't agree necessarily with, I don't know, prescription drugs or depression drugs, but they still all description with DMI and sort of go ahead with it because that's what we've been told. That's how we diagnosed. I might not agree that this is diagnosis that I should give, but I have to because I need to follow the rules, and someone on top of the hierarchy told me that this is what we're going to follow, then we're going to follow.
There's some really interesting... Sorry.
No, you're right.
No, go on, Anush. You go.
Absolutely. What I was thinking, about this kind of incidents and historical things that has happened, like what Hitler has done, and so many other things like this, because I think a manipulation is something, but also there could be something else involved, like money. Like, for example, I can see myself, like in my country last year, something happened that people went to the street and they were marching and all those things. And my own people, the people from my country, killed their own people. And what I know from that, it was all because of what they were getting, like the money that they have been getting to do these things. It's not just they know what's going on, they know what people want, they know what's right and what's wrong, but they were still doing those things that they knew that's wrong, but because of that money was involved and they were getting a lot of good offers and promotions, like at work, like anything. They were doing that, and it didn't really matter. And they were even sometimes, I know there were people that may not really wanted to do those horrible things, killing and things, but they have been drugged, so they could do that much more easily and with much more violence. I think it's not gonna be, I think, I haven't been at that time like with Hitler to know what's going on, but there could be something like money involved beside politics and all the other things.
These are really great points. I've got to keep, my one job is to keep time, and I always do this badly. And there's some really good stuff coming out here, and I just want to pick up those things and then give people, point to where the exit is so that people can get their dinner on and things like that. So there's the monster thing, the Nobel Prize thing.
Yeah,
if you could, fantastic. Could you post the link, the reference up in the discussion vote? Oh, fantastic. So have a look in there, and I'll just put. Oh, yeah, I see it. Fantastic. So it's on the screen. That's great. So that's a really good resource. Renee, what you were saying, and also Amelia, what you were saying, I think they kind of linked in. That was really important because the stuff that people find quite hard, both for the diary and for the assessment free, you've given material that links really well into this. So that interrogate, what's the social and cultural context of that knowledge? People find it difficult kind of trying to figure out a way of discussing this. So for the diary entry, I think you got something really interesting coming out here, which is adding something new to what's in the videos. And that's that historical perspective, like that thinking about what was happening with Milgram, 1960s, 1970s. Same with Rosenhan, 1970s, and that time where there was the social movements were gaining force. You know, we had the marches and the civil rights marches, the black movement, the gay movement, the women's movement, all were kind of picking up steam. And as you say, the Vietnam War and the call in the North American, the call for social change and people getting a sense that things could change. It was a really turbulent time. And in that context, it shifts things a bit, doesn't it, in terms of understanding how these things were received, when basically it was pointing to problems with authority systems which were already under threat through this social mobilization and the social movement. So it's a really interesting thing to add to this in terms of what was the social cultural context of Milgram's work. We had that thing about the coming out of World War II and the Holocaust. It's in some ways quite obvious because you'll have that material presented to you in the videos. What would be interesting is that thing that you've just brought in today, which is the cultural social context, which is historical and political. Like at that time, these were the politics. And it gives us a different way of understanding things. In relation to Anoush, you were bringing in some really important stuff, which again is not in the videos, but it's so important that the idea of people are acting immorally, and then that sense that people knew that they were acting immorally, but they were getting paid for it, they were getting money for it, and how systems can corrupt our sense of morality. So there's that thing about our sense of morality has been shifted from social issues and thinking about morality in terms of good and evil to morality in terms of good and bad, in terms of how we function in our job, doing a good job in terms of a technically good job rather than a morally good job. And that vandalization of our system, perhaps one of the things that isn't captured in the videos and isn't captured so much by the things I presented from Bauman, but also the way Milgram was talking about the corruption of our moral system that's happened since then. So since the 1970s, perhaps not anticipated by Milgram, that our moral compasses would be distorted in such a way that good people do bad things because their moral compass has been shifted, thinking that money is the moral virtue and the main purpose in life. That sense of our morality has been vandalized by the economic system we're in, where money is more important than anything else. So those things I think you've added to discussion. I'm borrowing your ideas and serving them back to you in the pretense that this comes from me, but this actually came from you today. So I wonder if we might give you the option of closing our session down, but opening up over to you. Let me just have a look at chat. There's some good stuff in chat. I think we mostly had it up on screen so people could see it. Oh, there you go, Cliff. You've been busy. There's some really good points there, Cliff and Rach. I won't read them all out, but people watching the video can just pause it. Whilst I scroll through that, does anyone want a final word before we finish up? Sorry, it's awfully small on your screen, I know. But you'll see it.
Isn't it interesting that the research that guides society or humanity forward all comes from horrific experiences? Like, we aren't able to move ourselves forward in a polite way. We have to learn from doing our worst to give us contrast on what the exact opposite is, as opposed to finding ways to be better people or better humans without actually hurting each other to learn what that stuff is. Like, how would we learn about authority and control and obedience without actually creating trauma or inflicting some sort of imposed discipline or authority on someone? Is that even possible to see what the humans are capable of without hurting anybody?
It's really interesting.
With ethics, it's too narrow.
No, this is really interesting point. I can't close the meeting because that's too interesting a point. I mean, there is this thing about the spectacular. You get people's attention by having to exaggerate and putting dialing up to 10 for people to be able to see this stuff. There's so much violence that actually happens in the mundane. Like, they talk about, for these systems to continue moving and continue functioning, there requires so much violence to keep the system going, to enable these things. And occasionally, you see the worst example of them in war, and then you see us, creating the worst example of them through our experiments and so on. But it's actually the mundane, day-to-day slog where this stuff happens. And the thing with the Holocaust, so much of it was mundane. It was so the extraordinary thing was how normal it was, how everyday it was, how unextraordinary it was. And that's the kind of that idea of banality of evil, that actually there was nothing dramatic about it as it was happening. And that the violence is often so mundane that you don't see it. And then by the time it's happened and it's done its worst, then we see the true horror of it, if we're lucky. And that's kind of what happened with the Holocaust, that eventually we saw the true horror of what had happened. But the actual doing of it was just day to day. It was just people doing their day-to-day stuff. And the idea that the things that we're doing right now, just mundane, day-to-day stuff, doesn't appear to be hurting anyone. We might be in that cycle. I mean, the obvious thing is, what's happening to the planet. We're carrying out our mundane, day-to-day stuff, following the trends and all the rest of it, as people are, dying through the effects of climate change. So it's that idea that there's something problematic in looking at the extraordinary, the spectacular, in order to think that gives us the sight of where human nature is revealed. It's actually in the mundane stuff that the true horror is hidden, and it's in the unextraordinary lives that we're leading that it's the real worry.
Everything has to progress, though. Everything can't. There's no static. There's no sitting still. Humanity has to progress, whether it be good or evil. And a good example of understanding progress, whether it be good or bad, and how quickly we all become part of the mundane, as I was brought up in my group, is to have a look at domestic violence. Domestic violence ends with a death. It doesn't start there. It starts way, way down the track with, a small little push or a grab or however those situations starts, and then it escalates and escalates and escalates. The Germans did exactly the same thing. They didn't start by gassing millions of people. They escalated. And once that escalation becomes normality, then we've got to progress, because this is the normal, and that's all right. That's what everyone's used to. What's the next step? Well, let's put them into camps. And what's the next step? Their camps are full. Let's go and gas them. It's a horrific example, and I'm not putting jokes at it, but it's domestic violence is the same. The criminal justice system is the same. Environmental damage is the same. Corruption in politicians is the same. If you had gone back to Ronald Reagan and in those days and seen the corruption that we're seeing with ScoMo and all that now, there'd be people rioting on the streets about it. But as we've grown up, this is what we're used to seeing. Even communities are the same. Like, have a look at how close our houses are, how lack of community we've got. That didn't start like this. I didn't grow up in this socially disconnected world. I grew up leaving my push bike at my mate's place and riding around all weekend. So it's all progressively going somewhere. And we all see it happening, and we all are part of that progress moving forward. But until you've got someone who takes a large chunk of those people who disagree with that progress and put them into a minority group that starts gaining traction, we're all sort of stuck in the status quo. Not agreeing with it, not liking it, but sort of useless.
There's a couple of, I want to pick up, it's really good points. And one of the things about Milgram was that escalation. You know, one of the reasons why it worked was because each little 15 volts, you know, the steps in between were so small that it was difficult to argue with yourself saying, well, I gave them 115 volts. Well, 130, I've already given them 115. So that kind of just incremental. That was one of the things that they kind of found, which is that it's hard to go back once you're taking these kind of little steps. There's a couple of things in chat. I'm just aware that I want to spend all night talking with you guys because you're saying you've got some great stuff going on here. But some people watch these videos and then they go, oh, Jesus, another hour video, you know. So we're going to keep this short, but I just want to point some really good stuff happening in chat. Murray, absolutely right. The same stuff about Sanford prison experiment, and the same thing happened there in terms of how it was kind of received and the rest of it. Absolutely. Rach, yeah, there is a problem with ethics can be mobilized for political purposes, and there's a problem with ethics, and particularly ethics stops us from researching vulnerable groups because they are seen as risky groups. High-risk ethics is if you work with disabled people, First Nations people, gay people. Anyone in a marginalized group is seen as high-risk ethics. It kind of stops you doing research. So in a way, it actually stops you hearing their voice. So there's a couple of ways ethics kind of works problematically. So I'm cramming so much in. I've always thought about this a lot. Rach said, in current culture, racist discrimination is a major historical tragedy would have been. I think this is a really good point because you pull out that Ronald Dahl stuff. This is the individualization stuff, this nonsense, the cancel culture criticism, they've got a damn point, but they don't realize the point that they're making, which is this individualizing things. It's nothing, Ronald Dahl, he's a product of his time, as an individual. These are cultural things. They're kind of social and cultural. And yet we just want to point our finger at particular people and say, let's stop, no more listening to Michael Jackson because of the dirty stuff he got up with. We individualize these things. It's kind of like that ad hominem criticism, which is the worst form of criticism. You just associate evil with the individual rather than with the social practice. And we villainize historical figures because they're exemplar of the ages of culture. Yeah, I mean, we all agree. Hitler was a bad man, but he was a vegetarian and he did like dogs. So, you know, it all evens out, doesn't it? I didn't say that. That's a terrible thing to say. Anyway, let's end on that bombshell as I get myself ready for my next disciplinary hearing. We good to.
I just want to end the seminar in social psychology that Hitler wasn't a bad guy because he was a vegetarian and he liked dogs.
I think I might have kind of done that, haven't I? I think I've kind of, and there, case in point, be careful with the tippy-toeing kind of the incremental horrors that you kind of, with me, it's just.
Next week.
Yeah, that things, the more I talk, the worse it gets, basically. That's that thing with me. But, yeah, Milgram said that's the normal. Okay. So thank you, everyone. We've gone 15 minutes over, but that wasn't long enough for me, but it was probably an eternity for you. Thank you ever so much. I just want to quickly warn you about next week because it's Jordan Peterson. And if you're a fan of Jordan Peterson, I'm not attacking Jordan Peterson, okay? Maybe I was going to make a reference to Hitler there, but that's going to be terrible, isn't it? If you're a fan of Jordan Peterson, he's a wonderful guy. He helps loads of people, but I'm going to be very critical about what he says about gender, race, and IQ, and how that's all caused by our genes. And I'm going to be quite critical of that view, not because it's Jordan Peterson, just because these are terrible, terrible ideas that have come from psychology. So thank you. Oh, hold on. Thank you, everybody. And I've been terrible. You've been, no, hold on. I've been terrific. You've been, no. I've been Paul. You've been fantastic. Have a lovely Monday evening. This is my DJ voice. And I hope to see you. This is creepy. I hope to see you. This time, not this time, an hour earlier than this time. This time, oh, Jesus. I hope to see you an hour before this time next week. There's probably a delay on, given the NBN, it's probably like a 5-second delay, and this doesn't make any sense to you at all. But I don't care. It's not for you, it's for me. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Dawn. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.